if you want to scale or crop images in your website, you need to go to imageresizer.com, and in here you can select your image or you can drag and drop your image from a folder. So I've just got an image here that I'm going to load onto it and drop it. So in this case, I'm going through the image resizer. At first I want to crop it. So I'm going to crop it to a particular size. I'm going to crop it square in this case, so that it can be used on social media for Instagram. And I also can use it for, you know, blurbs on a website or blog post featured images if I scale them correctly in the settings. So typically, square images are nice with a piece of text off to the right hand side of them. So that's the size that it's being cropped to. So I click on crop here, and that will crop it to square. Now I want to resize it, so you click on the resize button, and you can either go by dimensions or as a percentage. I typically go by dimensions because that's the way we design in websites. So when the way to think of the dimensions that are required is if it's going to take up the full screen of a 4K device, so a big monitor for a computer, it would need to be 1920 pixels, 1920 pixels wide to take up the entire screen, okay? And it would need to be 1080 pixels high in that case. So that would be an entire rectangular screen. Typically, for Instagram posts, you're looking at 1080 pixels. So 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels is what's recommended for Instagram posts. For website design, the width of it, you can upload it as 1080 because it's not too far off, but half of the width of a screen. So typically, if you've got a piece of text and then you have an image off to the right, it would be 960 pixels wide. So in this case, I'd resize it to 960 by 960 if it's going into the website as a square image, because typically they take up about half of the screen or less. We've software in there to compress it when it's down smaller than that. And so if I was uploading to Instagram, I'd set it to 1080 pixels. Okay, so for square images, you can get away with this size. If we go to crop again and change it to a 4:3 and move this around accordingly. So this would be typical for a blog post to have it as 4:3, or 16:9 would be very common as well. So 16:9 is a full screen, like a banner image. So that might be common as well for you to set that up. So we go with 4:3 here, and we make this, so we're going to choose this as a blog post image. Okay, so now I haven't downloaded my square image, so I'll just download that first. Okay, so we go with this size. We're going to set it to be an Instagram image. So we're going to go into resize, because we don't need it to be the full size, which is 3000 pixels. We need it to be 1080 by 1080. And then we can save the image. You can choose your format. So you can choose JPEG, PNG, or the new format, which is WebP. Not every device can support this, so just be cautious doing that, because I advise that you have the piece of software to convert it in your website just for now, because there are many devices that still don't support WebP. So it's just important that people can still load the images somehow. So we're just going to click on original in this case, because I know that it's a JPEG, and I'm going to click on resize image. Now your image is physically resizing. So it's changing the aspect ratio of it to square, and it's changing the size. So you can see the original aspect ratio is here, and this is the output. And you can see the original size that was here and the output size. Now I'm going to click on download image, and it's downloaded. So we can see that here, that this is the optimized version, and it's 180 kilobytes, and the original version was 732 kilobytes. So that's already resized down a good bit. So now I'm going to go into the website here, and I'm going to go re-edit this image. and it's back to its original format. So it just saves you having to upload it again. And in this case, we're going to crop it so that it'll be a banner image. So up at the very top of a website on a desktop, you want it to fill the whole background and then maybe have welcome to and the name of your website or whatever. So we're going to set this to 16:9 widescreen and pull these handles out so that it gets the full width, and pull it down here. So this will be our banner image for the website, and click on crop and it'll get rid of those unnecessary bits of the image. And then we go to resize here because we don't need it to be this width. So we go to resize and change this. So just make sure lock aspect ratio is on because it'll keep the ratio here. So we set this to 1920 because that's the maximum size you'd need for a device. 1920 by 1080. And you can click on resize image. And this will process now and it will be a big banner image. So it's taking up the full width of this big 4K screen. Okay, so you can still see that it's after reducing down the file size. So this is the original file size and it's down to 250 kilobytes now. And I'm going to further re-edit this image just one more time just to demonstrate to you. We go to crop here and we're going to go with the 4:3 because it would be typical now for a blog post to resize it to this size. So if you think on your website, 1:1 is typically square for products. So if you have an online store that uses WooCommerce, that's a very useful ratio for all of your products. Just have them in square. Blog posts 4:3, and then big full screen images 16:9. That's typically the rule of thumb. So, and if you wanted to take up half of your screen, you set it to 960 pixels size wise in the width. And if you want to take up the full screen, you set it to 1920 pixels wide. So that's just to give you an idea of sizing from my experience of doing this every day. So now we've got this blog post image and we hit on crop and that'll just get rid of all the unnecessary so we can get a good idea for the image. Go to resize, and in this case we're just going to use it for blog posts. So we don't want to resize it for Instagram sizes or anything like that. So I'm just going to set it to 960 pixels wide. And it by default sets the height of the image to 720 because it's kept that nice aspect ratio. So we hit resize image and now that's going to resize. So I'm just going to open up my folder here while that's working away. And we can see the images that have downloaded. Oops, I probably didn't download my last one, did I? I don't think I downloaded that one. Just 1 second now. We'll just go 16:9 and then resize it to 1920. And then download, resize. Oh, crap. 16:9. Okay, now, so we crop this, resize 1920 pixels wide. Apologies for that now, I just forgot to hit the download button and then save. So once it's processed, I'll have the opportunity to download it. I just skipped a step there accidentally. So download. Okay, so now we've got them down here. So now you can see all the different ratios of the image. So the original one is this one without the numbers behind it. And you can see the size of it is 732 kilobytes. The smallest image in here is going to be the second image because it's the blog post one. So it's 110 kilobytes because it's only 960 pixels wide. The largest one next to the original is going to be our banner image, which is 1920 pixels wide and it's 254. And then our square one is 180 pixels as well. So we've got those images there. So you can name them accordingly here by clicking twice slowly on the name, and you can name it correctly. You don't need to put in the dashes. When it uploads to your website, it automatically will add in those dashes. And I have a piece of software in the website to strip them out as well of the file name so that it can automatically populate your alternative text so that people can read it on screen readers. So I would name this with your key phrases in it for search engines, with a description of what the actual image contains, and a description of the service or product that you're talking about in the page. So you're talking about the page content or post content, you're talking about what the image actually contains, and then some key phrases to allow for people to find it on the internet. Because when you upload this to your website, we've programmed your website to show it on search engines as well. So whether you're one of my clients or not, this is all possible to do in your WordPress website, and my videos should be able to guide you on how to achieve that and get your images indexed by Google. So this process now has created 4 different types of images that you can use from the one image, and it's all been free of charge. Then what you can do is take it one step further and go to tinypng.com, and in here you can drop your images again. Okay, so you can do up to 20 images at a time so that it doesn't wreck their server. You can also refresh the page and do a further 20. So just be aware of that. It's not restricted to just 20 images per day. Many websites are. So this is by far the best compression service that I've seen online. And then we further compress images in your actual website server and your dedicated server while you're uploading it to the website as well. So you're getting maximum compression of your images when you follow all these steps. So I'm not going to upload the original image because it's going to be too big a lot of the time for the TinyPNG engine. So we're going to go with and if you're uploading to Instagram, you can just upload this as is to Instagram, because Instagram automatically does their own compression as well. So you don't need to worry about images that you're just going to be using for Instagram. But if you're using the square image on your website, definitely run it through TinyPNG before you upload it. So I normally take my blog post image, so I'm just going to grab it and optimize it just to give you an idea. We drag and drop it onto the TinyPNG engine, and as you can see, it's automatically now compressed it instantly down 60%. So now it's only 45 kilobytes in size, and that'll load on any device almost instantly. We click to download the JPEG. Sometimes this will say download PNG because you uploaded a PNG, okay? And then it's downloaded it there, and it's named it Smiley Dog 2.1. If your browser is set up to open a folder, you can rename it there and then on the spot. I've just disabled that feature just for the making of this video. So you can see that this is the optimized version. When I hover over it, it's 44 kilobytes in size. It's 960 pixels by 720. And this is the one that was compressed already, resized and cropped. And it's 110 kilobytes, so it's double the size, more than double the size, and it's the same physical size, and it's the exact same quality. Sorry, so you can see that that's that image, and then if we go to the other one, that's it. Okay, so there's literally no difference in the quality, and as you can see, it's taking up half of the size of my 4K screen here, so it's huge for mobiles and things like that. So the software in your website will adapt that physical size to the different devices. We've programmed it that way, and if you want an insight into what that software is, we can share that here through videos as well, if you're not in our web design services. So that's the physical differences in the sizes, and you can see that there's no difference in the file. Another good one is this banner image, so it's 254 kilobytes, and that can kill your Google score for speed load times, especially for your homepage and things like that. So if you're loading a big image up above the fold in your website, it can penalise you for saying that your website's loading really slow. So if you pull that into TinyPNG, then after resizing it, you can see that it brings down the size to 97 kilobytes, which is a huge compression as well. So 63% compression. So we download that as well. So the last step just before you upload the file to your website is to name it accordingly. So typically if this was for a blog post, I would name the blog post So all about how to care for your dog in 2025. Mariana Kane. Smiling dog on a bed. Okay, and that's typically how I would lay out optimizing the wording behind the image. And then, for example, if people Google the dog or the dog breed, I think this is a Doberman, smiling Doberman. And so when people Google that, they search it in Google and they look at images, they might find your image, and from there they can click that and it brings them through to your website. And then they might actually be interested in reading that article about the dog breed or the dog food or the dog supplies that you're selling, etc., etc., etc. So that's how you can build traffic while utilizing these fantastic image optimization steps. Then all you're doing is you're dragging and dropping it into the media folder in your WordPress website. I've other videos on how to do that, and the compression engines that automatically kick in when they're set up properly in your website. And as you can see here now, we've got a 44 kilobyte image, where before, if we just downloaded it from FreePick, it would have been 732 kilobytes, and it would have been full of useless information and the wrong aspect ratio. It would have wrecked your head. Whereas now you've done all this. Once you get into the swing of it, it'll take you, little or no time to optimize your images. And then when you drag and drop that, if you've got the right stuff in your WordPress website, and you've got it all set up correctly, the way that we would, this will automatically set up your alternative tags. It'll update your sitemap with images, all these wonderful things that help you to actually, when you go to all these little bits of effort, when you're creating your content, it'll actually help you to rank online as well. So why do the effort and then not get the reward? So you might as well be rewarded. So in your website, if you've gotten it designed by us in Design Burst, you can rest assured that all of these engines are in play in your website to help to rank them in Google and categorize them correctly in the back end of your website. So good luck with optimizing your images. Just make sure to remember, never, ever, ever upload an original stock image to your website, or an original image from your phone or a professional camera to your website, because otherwise you're putting unnecessary strain on the server, and it will ultimately lead to a website that's completely bloated and will affect your sales and your performance on your website.